I rode back to Dunning Avenue today. This is Monday, the 17th of May, for a couple of reasons. One, it's because I haven't been out there for about 6 months, and it's being discussed by the City of Sydney at the moment about whether to retain it. So, what I did is I joined at that location, rode down the bike lane south, turned around, rode north on the other side of the road in the bike lane, and then rode south again in the car lane, and then did the same on the way back. Now, I'm going to have to talk to this for about 19 minutes just to describe what happened. Now, that was a horrible intersection to get across, and I wasn't entirely sure what I was supposed to do once I got across the intersection, and I actually had to go back and look at the rear footage to see had I actually taken the correct line through there, or was I supposed to go where those cars were? I don't know. It was all a bit confusing. So what did I find? A lot of drivers can't park. There's a lot of poles from the dividing thing sitting in the lane. There's confusing lines about where you're supposed to go at intersections. Drivers are parking in no stopping and no standing lanes, and getting across Epsom Road is just an absolute disaster. At the time of the day I was there, which was totally different to when I've done it previously on the weekends, and this road is a lot quieter. So as we go along here, there you go, poles in the lane. I reckon cleaning up after stupid drivers along here would be a lifetime job. There's another pole. Bit like painting the Harbour Bridge, I guess. You start at one end of the bridge, and one end of the road, go along, clean it up, come back the other side, clean it up, and by the time you've done both sides, some driver's probably broken something else through carelessness or stupidity or just a complete lack of care. Because one thing I really noticed as I went along here is, it was a totally different experience to riding this on a weekend. Totally. Anyway, more poles there. There were quite a few cars parked on the plastic dividing thing, and I guess that's why quite a few poles have been snapped off, because drivers just can't park. And I can't imagine that they wouldn't know that they'd put a couple of wheels up or one wheel up on the plastic things, and there was just car after car after car that had done that, which was just, I don't know. Is it a lack of care? Is it a lack of skill? I really don't know. Anyway, the other thing I experienced coming along here was at some of the intersections, particularly back, coming into the roundabouts, wasn't entirely sure where I was supposed to go. Okay, other findings. I could do about 20 kilometres an hour on the lane versus 30 kilometres an hour on the road. The intersection geometry, I think, had improved quite a bit, but I did notice drivers speeding into the roundabouts from the side roads, which made me feel a bit uncomfortable at times. So, speed cushions going into the roundabouts, I think, would be a good idea, just to slow drivers down. And this is what I mean by improved geometry. It just seemed to be better coming into these roundabouts where you've got to merge out to your right. It just seemed a lot cleaner. Oh, look, there was even more poles back there. I didn't bother doing a pole count, but it must have been fairly high, because you can see the sections along here where this dividing thing no longer has any poles in it. Now, whether they didn't have any there in the first place, or whether they have been installed and careless drivers have just demolished them, I don't know. But I did feel that I had better sight lines looking back as I merged back onto the road. Now, don't ask me how that's happened, whether they've come along and done some changes since I was here about 6 months ago, or whether I've just forgotten what it was like previously. Couldn't tell you. Now, I'm sure this bit wasn't here last time I came through here. It seems like the Dunning Avenue cycleway has been extended in both directions, I think, because I'm pretty sure last time when I rode south, it kind of finished at a roundabout, and that was the end of it, whereas now it goes all the way down to a T-junction. Okay, coming out to another. It might have finished around here, I think, and what we did previously is we turned right and headed off to wherever we were going. Either that, or we just didn't see the next section on the other side of the road. I don't know. But you can see that, these poles have had a very hard life. I mean, if that's a testament to the quality of Sydney driving, then I guess it just shows why we actually need some permanent bike lanes built out of concrete, because if people are driving into these things that often, That's just scary. And it shows why we need to be protected by concrete rather than just a bit of paint because of just useless driving habits. Okay, got to here, and I know I didn't ride up here last time. Did a U-turn, went back the other way. And I'm also pretty sure we didn't ride this side last time. I think. I don't know. But again, exactly the same problems. It's narrow. There's a lot of driveways crossing it. I was worried coming along here that I was going to get clobbered coming over driveway. There's some nice person that's left their bins half in and out of the lane. There seemed to be a fair bit of junk in the lane apart from the poles. Obviously these lanes are too narrow to run a street sweeper down them. So if you're going to clean them, you've pretty much got to do it by a couple of people with leaf blowers, just blowing all the stuff out and sweeping it out, which is a pretty tedious and expensive way to clean them. I did think about, could this have been improved by doing a bidirectional on one side of the road? Then I thought, no, probably wouldn't work because it'd be absolute mayhem at the roundabouts, and possibly mayhem at all these crossing points. The other thing I noticed is, although there was no stopping and no standing close to some of these intersections, drivers had just illegally parked, where it was blocking sight lines or even partly blocking the driveways, etc., which is not good. In fact, there's a pole almost blocking the lane. So for that reason, I was tootling down the lanes fairly slowly and relaxed. 20 kilometers an hour is about as fast as I would go because I was just aware of the fact that I probably have to jam on the brakes at any second because a car would appear from my left or right, or a passenger might fling open a door and I'd have to come to a screaming halt very quickly or have a crash. Now, when we did this on the weekend, most of these cars weren't parked here, so the sight lines were a lot more open. But again, remember, this is a Monday and it was just after lunch, so it wasn't peak hour, but clearly a lot of parking in demand down here for businesses and all the rest of it. So how comfortable, would I really like to use this lane to commute back and forth in order to get between home and work? Look, if I wasn't a confident cyclist, I'd say, it's not a bad idea as long as you take it slowly and you're really careful at these intersections. It's kind of workable, but it's a real compromise when you've got just terrible driver behaviour in terms of parking partly into the bike lane, parking in no stopping zones in order to block your vision, and I guess probably a complete lack of care about going in and out of these driveways. That's the kind of stuff I'd really worry about. But along here, this new development on the left, not much in the way of driveways, thank goodness, but look, you can see people actually parking across these driveways here, and I had to go out to get around that ute. Now, it was at places like this where I wasn't really sure about the line I was supposed to take when I went across the intersection. And I think a lesson here would be to paint these lanes essentially in green so you can see precisely where you have to ride. Oh, go to your left, go straight ahead. Now jink right again. Okay, you're back on the path. Green paint can finish. That I would definitely use if you have to do all these little innies and outies as you go along. Can I keep talking for another 10 minutes? I'd never make a radio host or someone that just needs to blather away mindlessly about nothing at all for a long period of time. Okay, so we're back at Epsom Road, I think, and this was a horrible place to get across. I just had to stop in the middle of the road here and wait for the cars and trucks to go past, and just had to be patient and hope that the traffic wasn't going to suddenly start moving going to the left and I was going to be stranded in the middle of the road. Wonder if that could be improved just in general for all traffic by sticking in a roundabout, because I had to go back and forth across it 4 times and didn't enjoy any of those times. Okay, another intersection, pretty cruisy up here. The traffic seemed to be a lot lighter. And we're kind of coming towards the end of this. In fact, I think we're actually beyond Dunning Avenue at this point. So did a U-turn, came back and essentially just hopped into the lane again for this little bit before because I didn't do this on the first ride through. Oh yeah, so I ducked off to the left here just to have a look. Oh look, speed cushion at this intersection. So clearly shows that, yeah, there has been a problem with drivers speeding in these intersections, and speed cushions are a good idea on both sides. Yeah, I think that should be repeated at all the other intersections along here. Yeah, didn't ride this section previously, did we? Yes, we did. Anyway, what I'm going to do is cross over this horrible Epsom road again, and then just get out onto the road this time and avoid using the bike lane, and we're going to see what the difference is. And everyone was stuck here for a while, and there was a driver pulled out in front of that truck, and I thought, boy, they're about to get cleaned up. And the driver of the truck didn't seem to be too impressed with their behaviour either. And this is where I would have done the green paint thing to say, yeah, you have to actually go across here rather than continue down the footpath and pop out on the other side of those cars. So as soon as I got out here, I just felt like I could go a little bit quicker, although I didn't do that initially. But after a while, I thought, yeah, I can actually, get the speed right up. So you can see there on the way down, I was doing 28.7 kilometres an hour on average. And when I looked at the speed, I was actually doing over 30 at times, because it took a while to warm up, I guess, and get the confidence up to think, yeah, I can go a bit faster along here. Did I feel pressured by cars or anything sitting out here? No, because I was going at 30 kilometres an hour, and I don't think a lot of drivers would be going or wanting to go a lot faster than that. There's a lot of speed cushions along here slowing them down anyway. Look, of course you're going to get some that are going to want to fang from one speed cushion to the next at 50 or 60 kilometres an hour, and they're always a problem. But I think if you're confident and fast, use the road by all means. Now, again, you can see there's just no traffic at this time of the day. There's lots of parking in demand, but very little traffic on this road. Now, that may change at different times of the day. Maybe at peak hour, for instance, this could be completely congested from end to end, as far as I know, and the cars are hardly moving. And in that case, going in the bike lane would be a fantastic alternative to sitting here going nowhere in the congestion, or having to filter down the side of cars and, kind of hope for the best in traffic, which doesn't, it's not always the smartest or best thing to do. The road it's not in great condition. It's, got some potholes and rough patches along it, but there's, nothing insurmountable. You can see I'm cruising along at a pretty good pace here, coming up to this next intersection. I guess the question is, why are drivers having such a terrible time parking? Is it just a complete lack of parking skill and a lack of awareness about where the edges of their car are? Is it that they feel that they're under pressure to park when they come in here? Maybe at 8 o'clock in the morning when they're parking, there's a lot of congestion and they feel, I've got to back in here as quickly as possible because there's lots of other drivers behind me and I don't want to hold them up, and they kind of misjudge it and make a mess of it and think, oh, well, what the hell, I'll just leave it at that and, not worry about it. Or, is it, I've got a four-wheel drive, I'll just park wherever the hell I feel like it. That's, four-wheel drive that's never been out of the city, never been off-road, but, gee, it's great for driving up onto plastic islands in the inner city. The number of poles, just that have been busted out was just absolutely amazing. I don't know how often council or Transport for New South Wales or whoever it is that's responsible for maintaining these things comes along here and picks up the broken ones and, tries to reinsert the ones that aren't too broken. I don't know whether that pile of busted poles we saw is, 24 hours of effort or a week's worth of effort, or whether it's been a month since I've come out here to have a look at it. I don't know. But, it's not the best. Now, obviously, the future of this lane or this cycleway is in question. I can certainly see why, because unlike the other ones like Pitt Street, etc., where it's brilliantly wide, it's a hell of a lot better just because there's more space. It works a hell of a lot better. You know, how do you make this thing work better? Well, I guess you could narrow the road even further, which would, have the impact of reducing vehicle speeds, and I guess you could do that, and provide a bit more space for the cycleway, doing it that way. The other one would just be to remove parking from one side of the road. Um, but I can imagine the level of screaming, if that was proposed, would be absolutely off the charts. So, what do you do? I guess another alternative would be to just turn the whole street into a quiet, slow street. Take the cycle lanes out, reduce road speeds to, say, 30 kilometres an hour end to end, and do that with some really full-on, multi-layered engineering works. So you can see here, this is one of these things where, no stopping zone. There was no one in the car. They'd parked there. They didn't give a damn. Me being me, I would not only, find the people that are doing that, but anyone who had their wheels up on the plastic curb, I'll be sending them a bill for damages as well. Parking outside the lines and damaging this stuff. Whether that would fly, I don't know. But anyway, I think an alternative would be, if they pulled up the asphalt, did the whole road as paved, for instance, reduce the speeds to 30 kilometres an hour, chicanes, the kind of quiet, safe street approach that Perth has taken. And that way you can mix cyclists who are confident and not so confident in with the traffic. Now, whether the drivers will behave in that kind of environment's another question. Might require a bit of enforcement to make sure they're actually abiding by the new road design. Good luck with that, I guess. Here's my final crossing of this horrible bit of road, and don't really want to do that again if I can help it. So anyway, there we go again. Came in, went up and down, and we had a look at both sides. So what more is there to say? I guess that's a record now of what it looked like, and you can argue about whether it worked or not, but I think there were a lot of useful lessons to be learned from that experience, and again, here they are as a summary. So we'll see what happens to Dunning Avenue in the future.